Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome into the Bulls Report here by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. We're going to be going over the latest rumors around our Chicago Bulls following the pretty big-time win versus the Charlotte Hornets last night. There was a DeMar DeRozan trade thrown out there where he would be heading to the Memphis Grizzlies. We're also going to be talking about Billy Donovan, if he could be fired. And then also, is a Zach LaVine trade dead? Is there no chance the Bulls move him at the deadline? We're going to be going over those three topics on today's show. I'll be giving you guys my thoughts in depth on all of that and more. But guys, before we get into it, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button right down there. Free, easy way to help us out. Hit that sub button right there. Free, easy. You're going to stay up to date on the latest news and rumors around the Bulls. Help me out. It makes me look really good for my bosses here at Chat Sports as well. So if you want to make my day and stay up to date on the latest around the Bulls, right down there is your way to do it. Hit that sub button. But enough of that. Let's dive into the reports. Coming around, DeMar DeRozan possibly heading to Memphis. So the Grizzlies, obviously, they had a tough start to the year with, Ja Morant being out the first 25 games. But they definitely played a lot better basketball as of late. They made that move for Marcus Smart in the offseason. They still got a guy like Jaren Jackson. They got a good, solid set of they got a solid foundation, that they could build around there. And they've been a team the last couple of years who have been at the top of the Western Conference but haven't been able to break through. So maybe a guy like DeMar DeRozan could be that extra layer that could get them over the hump. So this was the trade that was floated out there. Obviously, the Bulls be sending DeMar to Memphis, and then they would be getting back Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, who I'm a fan of, Zaire Williams, but the two most important pieces, a 2024 first-round pick, lottery protected, then a 2026 first-round pick, top 3 protected. I will say this right now. If that is the trade that goes through, clap it up for the Bulls front office. If you could get 2 young guys in Brandon Clark and Zaire Williams, and then also 2 first-round picks. Yes, the one next year is lottery protected, but, let's just say the Grizzlies do make a run and make the playoffs. That could come to fruition, and that could convey next season, and the Bulls could be maybe having a pick from that 18 to 24 range. Then on top of that, the 2026 first-round pick, I do expect Memphis to be one of the better teams in the East over the next couple of years, but you're probably going to have 2 first-round picks over the next 3 years for a guy that's on an expiring deal in DeMar DeRozan. I would absolutely be all in on this move. And plus, you'd be getting a good piece like Brandon Clark. And just talking about Brandon Clark here, I do think he fits a archetype of player that the Bulls don't necessarily have, kind of that Aaron Gordon mold. Obviously, he's nowhere near the player Aaron Gordon is, but that strong physical forward. I think Brandon Clark would add a good mix-up to the Bulls lineup that they definitely do need. And this trade just honestly pivots the Bulls into a full fundamental kind of youthful rebuild, which I do think the Bulls do need to go to. So in terms of this trade of DeMar DeRozan for Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, Zaire Williams, and 2 first-round picks, I think I'm saying yes every single time, mainly just because of those draft picks, man. I mean, you can't have enough draft picks in the NBA. You can use them to go create a trade in the future, or obviously maybe you can use them to go draft another star, which the Bulls definitely, do need to do here in the near future. But if you could get that haul for DeMar, it was on a 1-year deal, and we'll give DeMar all of his flowers. He's been great here for the Bulls. He's a great leader, a great player. Obviously, some things that were out of his control kind of led to the Bulls not being as good as we thought they were going to be. But DeMar to Memphis for that haul, I'm saying yes any day of the week. Now, I do want to dive into just kind of the word around Bulls fans about firing Billy Donovan. And I do think it's interesting because I don't think Billy Donovan is the solution to the Bulls' problems. I don't know if he'll be a good head coach in the NBA, but I do want to make this point clear. I don't think head coaching in the NBA necessarily matters as much as people think. I think in the NFL, head coaching, all that matters 10 times fold compared to in the NBA. And, with all the issues that the Bulls are having, if you were telling me another coach were to be the head coach of the Bulls this year, whether it's Spoelstra, Tibbs, or whoever it may be, obviously maybe they'd be getting more out of this unit, but I still think the Bulls would have the same problems that they have. I think it's more of a roster construction issue for the Bulls instead of a coaching issue. Listen, I haven't been a fan of the way Billy Donovan's handled, minute rotations over the past couple of seasons. Wish he would have ran the offense a little bit more through Kobe White and Patrick Williams early on this season and even last year. So I disagree with him on a couple of those kind of decisions he's made. But yes, he may not be the biggest problem, but I still think he is a problem. But I just don't think for the fans that are in the camp where it's like, oh, if we move off Billy and we fire Billy and we get a new coach in here and we keep everything the same, it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think Billy Donovan, yes, if the Bulls want to reach another level as a team and truly contend for championships, maybe he is not that right guy, but he is still a very smart basketball coach. He knows the game of basketball very well, and I think he is he's been kind of clipped a little bit and by just the overall roster. Like, I mean, he's not really working with too much here. I don't think the big three of DeRozan, LaVine, and Vooch, if you gave that to any single coach in the NBA, that they could make it work at a high level. I see the Bulls do have talent, and I think people look at a lot of the names where it's like, oh, how could the Bulls be this bad with DeMar, LaVine, Vooch, Williams, Caruso, like Javon Carter, like all these guys, like how could the Bulls be as bad as they are? I think you just naturally look at the coach. Well, instead, I've been looking at it and just watching them a lot this year. It's just like, I think it's more of a, roster construction issue. So kind of indifferent on firing Billy Donovan. I know there's a lot of people that do want him fired. I'm kind of, hit or miss on that part, but just kind of want to give my thoughts on that. We're going to talk about Zach LaVine and how I do think that trade could be possibly dead here in a second, but I do want to give a huge shout out to Prize Picks. If you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match up to $100. The first time you put money into your account, they'll match it up to $100, only if you use that promo code CLNS. I love Prize Picks. You guys will too. It's daily fantasy made easy. All you do is you pick 2 or more players, then you're going to choose more or less on some projected stat types. You guys can start winning some cash today. Link for that is in the comment section and description of today's show. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS, and get your first deposit match up to $100. All right, so let's wrap up the show talking about Zach LaVine. As I'm not saying the trade's dead, but I do think it's unlikely. I've floated out there. I think the Spurs could be a dark horse team. I think the Kings could be a dark horse team. But in terms of the big three of like the Miami Heat, New York Knicks, and the Los Angeles Lakers, and even the Sixers, I'll throw the big 4 in there. I don't think a championship contender is going to consolidate their assets and push all that to the center of the table for LaVine. I just really find it unlikely. And maybe it could be a team like the Heat. I think the Heat are like the only team that will take him in because maybe they think, hey, well, under Heat culture, we could get him to play a winning brand of basketball and kind of change the MO around LaVine, and he could be that, tertiary scorer that they need. But overall, I do think the Bulls may stand pat at the trade deadline and not move off a guy like LaVine. I would completely disagree with the move, but obviously we're going to have to wait and see. I just don't really think a contender is going to want to trade for him. At this point, I think it's going to be a dark horse team if he does get dealt. It's kind of my final thoughts on LaVine. I just really think the Bulls are going to be asking for a lot from him, and I don't think a contender is going to want to consolidate all those assets and go get a guy like LaVine who's never won in his career, never has played playoff basketball at a high level. That's why I've been saying I honestly do think a guy like DeMar and Caruso are more enticing for these teams in comparison to Zach. I just think how it's going to go down. And I do think if the Bulls do deal him and we get that notification on our phones where it says, here's the trade package we got for LaVine, I promise you we all are going to be disappointed in the package that we would get back. Just kind of want to give my thoughts on that. The DeMar, the Memphis deal, firing Billy Donovan, and a Zach LaVine trade if it could be dead. Thank you guys so much for watching today's edition of the Bulls Report. See y'all next time. As always, go Bulls, baby.